Funny how people unsubscribe from your life without notice. One day they swear forever, the next they're gone. But hey, if you're here, hit subscribe. It's free, unlike loyalty. Christmas dinner was almost finished when my father set down his fork, looked me dead in the eye and said, "You are a burden and you can no longer live with us." At first I thought I had misheard him. My mother let out a nervous, uneasy laugh as if she wasn't sure he was serious. But he sat there staring at me, waiting for a reaction. The room went silent. My younger sister, Lily, froze mid-bite, her fork hovering just before her lips. Her wide eyes met mine, filled with disbelief. I swallowed the piece of ham I had been chewing and set my fork down. "What? You heard me?" His voice was firm. "You've overstayed your welcome. You need to move out." I sat there trying to process. I was 23. I had a stable career. I could have left long ago, but I stayed because they needed me. I paid the energy bill, internet, and groceries most weeks. Things they couldn't afford since my father had been unemployed for years and my mother only worked part-time. I wasn't a burden. I was the reason the lights stayed on. And now, out of nowhere, I was being tossed aside like a useless freeloader. Mom finally spoke up. "Maybe we should talk about this later." "No," Dad interrupted. "This is my house. I make the rules and I say he's done here." Lily set down her fork. She was barely 16 and I could see the fear in her eyes. What did this mean for her? That they could throw me away so easily? I took a deep breath. I wasn't going to argue. If they wanted me out, fine. But they weren't prepared for what that really meant. I slumped back in my chair. "All right." Dad sat up straighter as if he had won some imaginary battle. Mom still looked uneasy, but she said nothing. Maybe she was in shock. Maybe she didn't care as much as I thought. I stood up, took my plate to the sink and turned to Lily. She remained stiff and uncertain. I gave her a slight nod. She was the only one at the table I still cared about. Dad took a sip of his drink like nothing had happened. Mom picked at her mashed potatoes. Lily stared at me as if she wanted to say something, but she didn't. I didn't finish dinner. I just walked out. The silent goodbye. That night, I went straight to my room, shut the door, and started packing. I wasn't going to waste time figuring out their reasons. If they wanted me gone, I was gone. But they had no idea what that really meant. Everything I paid for, electricity, internet, food, was about to disappear with me. And I wasn't going to warn them. I packed quietly, but I could hear them talking downstairs. My mother's voice was low and anxious. My father's was forceful, as if he was trying to convince her of something. I caught fragments. "He's old enough, we can handle it, he should have moved out years ago." An hour later, Lily knocked on my door. When I opened it, she slipped inside and shut it behind her. Her face was red, eyes swollen from crying. "What the hell was that?" she whispered. "I don't know." I stuffed my laptop into my bag. "But I'm leaving tomorrow." She shook her head. "That's crazy. You pay for everything. They can't even afford food without you." "Not my problem anymore." Lily bit her lip, holding back more tears. "Where are you going?" I shrugged. "I'll figure it out." The truth was, I had some money saved, but I hadn't planned on moving out so soon. I'd have to find a place fast, maybe crash at a friend's for a while. But I wasn't worried. I'd be fine. They wouldn't. Lily hesitated. "Can I?" She stopped herself. I knew what she wanted. She wanted to come with me. But she was still in high school, and as much as I hated leaving her behind, I couldn't take her with me. You know they'd never let that happen. She stared at the floor. "Yeah." I finished packing while she stood there, unmoving. Finally she sighed. "You're going to regret this." I grinned. "I know." Gone before they knew it. The next morning I left before they even woke up. I hauled my bags downstairs, loaded my car, and took one last look at the house. No sadness. No regrets. Just relief. That was the first thing I felt as I pulled out of the driveway, my car humming beneath me. I pulled up my banking app and, with a few swift taps, erased my name from everything. Electric, internet, water, even the Netflix account I had paid for. Without me, the house would shut down in a month. A grin spread across my face. I put the car into drive and pulled away without a second glance. For the next few days, I crashed at my friend Jake's apartment while looking for a place of my own. His couch was lumpy, his dog Max wouldn't stop staring at me while I tried to sleep, and his roommate kept asking, "Are you staying forever?" But none of it mattered. Because I was free. No more paying for a house I didn't even want to live in. No more pretending to respect a man who had thrown me out at Christmas dinner. No more being treated like a walking ATM. For the first time in years, I was doing something for myself. The panic begins. 3 days after I left, my phone started ringing. At first, I ignored it. 7 missed calls from my mother. 2 from my father, which surprised me because he barely ever called me at all. Then came the text from Lily. I ignored those 2 until one caught my eye. Lily, they're freaking out. The power's been cut off. I grinned. They actually believed the bills would magically pay themselves. Then another message. Lily, Dad's losing his mind. He said you did something to the house. Oh, this was getting better. I could already picture my father stomping through the house in the dark, cursing at my mother while she sobbed over the Wi-Fi being down. An hour later, my phone rang again. This time I picked up. The moment I answered, my mother's panicked voice exploded through the speaker. Kevin, we don't know what happened. The power's out, the internet's down, the water bill, you didn't pay. I cut her off, my voice calm. Yeah. Silence. Then in a quieter voice she said, You paid for these? I nearly laughed. Are you serious? Who else did you think was paying for them? She hesitated. Your father said. Then she stopped herself. She already knew. Dad was too proud to admit he had no idea how the house actually functioned. He had probably assured her that everything would be fine without me, that the bills would take care of themselves. Not my problem anymore. Kevin, please. We didn't mean. I hung up. Desperation strikes. I assumed that was the end of it. They would figure it out. Maybe my father would finally get off his ass and get a job. Maybe my mother would work more hours. Maybe they would sell something to keep the lights on. Either way, it wasn't my concern. The next morning, I woke up to a notification from my bank. Fraud alert. Suspicious login attempt detected. I shot upright, my pulse hammering. I checked my email. 3 more alerts. Someone had tried to access my account. I opened my banking app, scanning for any missing transactions. Nothing had been taken, yet. But then I saw it. An attempt to reset my password. A failed login. Then another. And another. My jaw tightened. My father must have been desperate. I immediately called Lily. She picked up on the first ring. I was just about to call you, she whispered. I was just about to call you, Lily whispered. There was fear in her voice. Dad's freaking out. He's been yelling about money all morning. He was on the computer for hours. I exhaled sharply. Trying to get into my bank account, I muttered. Lily was silent for a second, then cursed under her breath. Does he have my old passwords? I asked. She hesitated. Probably. You know how Mom used to keep them in that little notebook by the computer? I clenched my jaw. I knew it. My father must have gone through that book, hoping I'd been careless enough to still use the same passwords from high school. Kevin. Lily's voice wavered. He's really pissed. I think. She paused. In the background I heard shouting. My father's booming voice. The slam of a door. My mother sobbing. A cold chill ran down my spine. I think he's going to do something stupid. I tightened my grip on the phone. What do you mean? What did he say? She lowered her voice. He keeps saying you ruined us. That you did this on purpose to screw him over. He's talking about calling the cops. I almost laughed. For what? Not paying his own bills. I don't know, she hissed. He's losing it. Mom's crying, saying she'll talk to you, but he won't listen. He keeps saying, he's not going to get away with this. My stomach twisted. Kevin? Lily's voice dropped to a whisper. I think he wants to come after you. Escalation. The humor left me instantly. I had expected my father to get desperate. Maybe beg. Maybe try to guilt trip me. But revenge? That was new. That was dangerous. Lock your door, I told her. If he does something crazy, call me. I hung up and immediately went into defense mode. First, I changed every password. Bank accounts, email, streaming services, even my Amazon login. Then I called my bank. They confirmed multiple hacking attempts from an unrecognized location. To be safe, they locked my account so tightly that even I had trouble logging in for the next few hours. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. The nightmare at Jake's. That night, Jake and I were hanging out in his apartment, playing some ridiculous Xbox game. Then, bang. A violent slam against the front door. Jake paused the game. Are you expecting someone? I wasn't. A terrible feeling crawled up my spine. I stood up slowly and walked to the peephole. My stomach dropped. It was my father. He stood in the corridor, fists clenched, chest rising and falling in ragged breaths. His face was twisted with rage. Like a bull preparing to charge. Jake stood up. Dude, what's going on? Bang. Kevin. My father's voice roared through the door. Open up. I didn't move. Bang. This time it was harder. The door shook. "I know you're in there," he shouted. "You think you can just walk away from this?" Jake shot me a look. "Should we?" Before he could finish, crack. The door exploded inward. I grabbed my phone. Calling 911. The arrest. I called 911. "My dad just showed up at my apartment," I told the dispatcher. "He's banging on the door, yelling at me. He just tried to kick it in." Jake took a step back. "Kevin, this is crazy." I met his gaze. "Yeah, I know." My father's voice roared through the door. "You ungrateful little. You think you can just walk away? You owe us." "Officers are on their way," the dispatcher assured me. 2 minutes later, sirens cut through the night. The shouting stopped. A loud knock followed. "Police, open up." I unlocked the door just as 2 officers handcuffed my father. His face was burning red, chest rising and falling in ragged breaths. Then as he looked at me, his expression changed. No regret. No shame. Just pure hatred. "You did this," he muttered as they dragged him away. I stood there emotionless. Because the truth was, he did this to himself. The fallout. They took him away that night. But I knew this wasn't over. An hour later my phone rang. It was Lily. "Mom's losing it," she whispered. I sighed. "Let me guess, she's blaming me?" "Yeah." Lily's voice was small. "She keeps saying you have to fix this. She's already calling people, trying to get bail money." I almost laughed. "With what money?" Silence. We both knew they had nothing. No electricity, no internet, no savings, and now no father to bark orders and pretend he was in charge. Without me they were sinking fast. I should have felt bad. I didn't. All I felt was relief. "Keep an eye on her," I told Lily. "If she does anything crazy, call me." A new low. The next morning my phone buzzed. "Lily, Mom's selling your stuff." I froze. I called immediately. She picked up on the first ring, her voice sharp. "I told you to fix this." "Are you selling my stuff?" Pause. Then bluntly, "We need money, Kevin." My jaw clenched. "So you're stealing from me?" Her voice rose. "You don't live here anymore. You left all this behind. It's in our house, that makes it ours." There was no guilt. No hesitation. Just pure entitlement. "I'm calling the cops." "Don't you dare." I hung up. Then I called the cops. The ultimate betrayal. 2 hours later I got a call back. "We spoke to your mother," the officer said. "She wasn't happy, but she's agreed to hold your belongings until you can pick them up." I texted Lily. "I'm coming over." But when I arrived my stomach dropped. My car. Sitting in the driveway. It shouldn't have been there. I left it at Jake's apartment. I turned off my engine, my pulse hammering. It wasn't just here, it had been driven. The front seat was reclined. The glove compartment was open. And worst of all, the gas tank was nearly empty. I clenched my fist. They stole my car. The confrontation. Before I could get out, the front door swung open. My mother stepped outside, arms crossed. "You called the cops on me," she sneered. I glared at her. "You stole my car." She scoffed. "It was just sitting there. You weren't using it." I stared at her, trying to comprehend the sheer absurdity of her logic. "It's my car. How did you even get it?" She didn't answer. But I already knew. They had a spare key. Lily kept her promise. For 2 years she endured, keeping her head down and staying out of trouble. The moment she turned 18, she packed her bags, left without a word, and never looked back. She moved in with a friend, enrolled in college, and started fresh. We talk all the time. She's doing well, better than I ever imagined after everything. As for our parents, they fell apart without us. Within a year my father lost the house. The unpaid bills, overdue rent, and mounting debt finally caught up to him. He tried blaming me, telling anyone who would listen that I abandoned them, that I ruined them. But nobody believed him. The truth was obvious, without me they had nothing. My mother drifted from place to place, relying on distant relatives until they too got tired of her excuses. Eventually she stopped trying. I don't know where she is now. I don't care. My parents never recovered. My father never got a job. My mother tried, but it was too late. A year after I left, they lost the house. They burned every bridge with extended family, wearing out their welcome wherever they went. The last I heard, they were renting a rundown apartment in a rough neighborhood, barely scraping by. They tried to reach out, Facebook messages, unknown numbers, even handwritten letters, but I never responded. They had made their choice that Christmas dinner, and I had made mine. I didn't owe them anything, not after they threw me out and then tried to take from me even after I was gone. They had pushed me away thinking they could guilt me back into their control. But they had underestimated me. I wasn't the same person who had quietly paid their bills and kept the household running. I had learned that family isn't about blood, it's about respect, and they had none for me. Lily thrived. She worked hard, got into college, and built a life for herself far from them. We remained close, and whenever she needed me, I was there. The two of us became each other's real family. Looking back, I have no regrets. Walking away from people who only saw me as a resource was the best decision I ever made. If this story resonates with you, let us know in the comments. Have you ever had to cut ties with toxic family members? The lesson here is simple. Just because someone is family doesn't mean they have the right to mistreat you. You deserve respect, and if they refuse to give it, you have every right to walk away. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.